So tell us a little bit about that.
Well, the secret is to do what you love.
So what is the best way to make best possible use of it? Greetings from Chicagoland. Welcome to Munira's Musings. Our guest today is Michelle Caprio, all the way from Virginia?
Virginia Beach, Virginia.
Virginia Beach, Virginia. Welcome to Munira's Musings, Michelle.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm so delighted to be here.
Well, thank you so much. So we are in for a treat because this is a life-changing moment that she's going to share with us. But without further ado and without taking a lot of time, all of you know that we explore unique stories of our incredible guests. Each episode is designed not only to highlight their journey, but to uncover valuable insights that we can all learn from. Through the experiences and their journey, we aim to inspire, educate, and empower you, all of you that are our listeners, in your own path. So sit back, tune in, and let's dive into the conversations that matter. So, Michelle, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I am a retired educator. I've been in education as a guidance counselor for 46 years. And during about 3 years ago, I had a major life change that made it important for me to retire early. And that was the beginning of a journey that I had no idea where it would lead. And I had no idea how to travel it because it was really my first time experiencing this type of journey. So
let me ask you this. Most people have a career of 25 years and they say, I'm retired.
Mm-hmm.
You went on for 46 years. What's the secret? Doesn't that, most people do that. Yeah. So tell us a little bit about that.
Well, the secret is to do what you love. So there's a quote, and I don't know who said it, is that if you do the work that you love, you never work a day in your life, right? Yeah. And I truly think I have a gift for teaching, and I have a gift for people. And it was a natural blend right there. And so it's sometimes our customs dictate things that aren't really necessary. You're not forced to, you're not forced to retire. You can go again. And so I just kept reinventing my position, so to speak. I was initially a teacher, then I went into curriculum counseling, and then I went into guidance counseling. And then I expanded my audience of students from traditional students in the classroom to university, undergrad and grad students to homeschooling students. So everybody needs learning, and that means everybody needs a teacher. So if you do what you love, you never work a day in your life.
I love that. I love that because, you hear it all the time, but you never actually see it implemented in somebody's life. And you are a prime example of that. So thank you for sharing that. Mm-hmm. So you said 3 years ago, life changed. Do you want to talk about that?
Yes. Well, so I have two younger sisters. One is Judy and one is named Lisa. One was named Lisa. And Judy was taking care of my, at that time, 89-year-old mom. And had so for many years. And Lisa was one of these free spirits. She was the youngest, and the youngest is usually the wild one. And so Judy contracted colon cancer. And within about 6 months, by the time it was discovered, she passed away. That left mom needing some care. And so my husband and I invited mom, of course, to come and live with us in Virginia. But what we didn't expect was that, and there was, of course, grieving for that. We had time for that, though. We had time to prepare for that. But my youngest sister, Lisa, contracted a massive bacterial infection. And she was taken to the hospital, but she did not have any ID on her. So it was in the space of 3 days, they were unable to contact the family, us as a family. We didn't even know where she was. By the time they put all the pieces together and found us, Lisa had already gone into a coma and she passed away 3 days later. So that was not, we were not prepared for that one. So my mom, who had just lost her second to youngest daughter, now she's lost her youngest daughter, all within the space. And she was coming, she had to lose her, basically give up her home. She had to move across the country from Texas. She had to get used to a new family dynamic as much as we could adjust. And I was experiencing the same kinds of loss. I retired from my job because mom was handicapped and needed care, and unexpected, unchanged, unplanned for, and very, very hard. But you do the hard things for people, you love. And so, um, because we were both struggling, we would try to help each other, but we really were going through two different kinds of grief journeys. Now, we did eventually get into a grief counseling group, and that was very good. But when mom would go to bed, she would retire fairly early. I found that I was struggling with, and it sounds almost cliche, but an identity crisis. Because I'd always been an educator, and now all of a sudden I wasn't an educator. And so I was these other things, but I didn't, I never challenged God on what happened, but I just didn't know who I was anymore. And there's kind of a dark place that you go inside yourself when you're grieving that way. And I was struggling with that and trying to figure out, first of all, how to take care of my mom, who had all these needs, and myself as well, and a husband. And so it was that time that I discovered journaling and affirmations. And I had journaled off and on, but it almost became, well, it did become my therapy, so to speak, my grief therapy. And I had never really realized how transformative that journaling and affirmations could be. But over the course of the next 2 years or 3 years, between the starting of the journaling and affirmation book and the publishing, I really just became a whole new person, and one that went from confusion and chaos to purpose and vision. And that is a very difficult journey to navigate. And so I was supported in many ways, and but the actual affirmations, speaking those out loud, affirmations are I am statements, because I was struggling with, okay, so who am I now? And so by writing these affirmations and speaking them aloud over myself first, and it was intended pretty much to be a private thing, but I shared a few with some friends, and I saying, like, Michelle, you need to share these. So I started posting them on my Facebook page of all places, right? And the response was very good, very positive. And that was another surprise. I am a writer. Who knew? I didn't know. And so the journey of self-discovery, no, you don't wish for the pain. Of course, nobody in their right mind wishes to undergo that pain and trauma, whatever the trauma is. However, it can be harvested for some real good things. Good things can come from it.
I love the fact that you said that you had journaled before. Why did you stop before you started this process? You said you had done a little bit of journaling. Why was that an on and off thing?
It was because I had a misconception of what journaling was. And I had always thought that journaling was pretty much just kind of like detailing your life. Like when a younger girl or a younger kid journal, like, today I went and met, so and so at the mall, blah blah blah. That's what I thought journaling was, just a logging of your activities for the day. And when you're busy, you don't really want to. You don't have time to just journal out what you do, your to-do calendar, right? And so it didn't really resonate with me. I did not really see the benefit of it, because it was just a log, However, I attended a workshop that was called Authentic Journaling, and that was the key. And the key to journaling is to realize that it's not about what you do, it's about who you are becoming. And so for me, what I was doing with my journaling, and I really leaned into it, was I was exploring all of these 365 attributes, and I was connecting them with God and saying, because God is these things, I can be these things as his child. And so that is authentic journaling. It's when you're using the page or the writing or the words on the page to create a history of your becoming, and And it's a wonderful process. And so I realized as I look back over all of those years of just logging my events, of course, that's not going to help you. You already know that it's in your head. But when you start looking at who you are becoming, it becomes part of your heart, your soul, your spirit, your mind. And so that was the key. I told the facilitator for the workshop, you have set my pen free. And she not only set my pen free, she set me free, which was a great blessing.
I love the fact that journaling has become an amazing tool for lots of people. So many people that have come through Munira's musings have talked about journaling. But today you put it in perspective about how to authenticate your thoughts and put it in paper, because it's not just, you're right, it's not just a verbiage that this is what you did and how you did it. It's how are you going to overcome the next step and thinking about it. So this is a process, and maybe we can have another conversation as to how you took all of those affirmations that you wrote, because you wrote 365 affirmations in your book, but there were more than that because you had to pick and choose, I'm sure. As,
Yes.
as an author, we know that we write a lot.
Yeah.
So tell me how this process, when you started sharing on Facebook and they said that you have to share with everybody, how did this become a plan to become a book?
Well, the initial writing of the affirmations, the I am statements, became a process for me. There was another lady, and this is just another blessing. There was another lady who had she called it the I am project, and it was just a daily I am strong, I am beautiful, and she would post that on her Facebook page, and I would look at that. I would post a short one of affirmation on her page, and then as an accountability for myself, I'd post it on mine, because life happens and you have to have some accountability. And so after, and it was a year-long process, and then the Facebook project closed. And so when I started getting positive feedback, I began to collect and save on a Word document what I was writing. Now, they were very rough. They were very rough entries and very short, because I was managing a household, mom. I was trying to start a side business or a home business. And so it wasn't publishable at the first draft. So, and it's one of those God blessings, God links. A friend of mine who's a writing coach had been reading them, and she said, Michelle, let's make this a book. I think I never thought of that. I had never written a book. And so she volunteered in her generosity of heart. She said, I will be your writing coach. You just have to do the work. Well, I had now some direction. And I have to tell you, I'm just like a little cannon. Just point me in the right direction and pull the trigger, right? And Marsha kept me on track, and she kept my feet to the fire, And so after the first year, we just kind of took it slow, because I was still taking care of mom. After the first year, it was a rough draft. And after another year, and this is a process, it can't be, you have to work within your life, right? It was much better. And then in the third year, after about 3 edits, it was ready to go to market. And I chose to self-publish, went through Amazon. And the reasons being the financial ease of it. And it's just really easy to publish, Now there's some expenses, of course, involved, and you have to outsource things like formatting and book covers and that kind of thing. But my husband, who was very supportive, said, let's just do it, right? And so last year, here it is. It's a real live book. And, I can say I am a published author. And it's the first time I opened the box of books, I just can't tell you the feeling of, it was just almost surreal. And because I looked back on that last 3 years and where I was, where the darkness and the chaos of my mind and my heart, and then now I'm opening up a book, and here's a box of books that have my name on it. So it is hard work. Publishing is hard work, and you know And that's
I
why
do.
less than 1% of the population ever publish a book that comes to market. It's less than 1%. That was a statistic somebody told me, because it's not easy. But if you know, I just knew I had the evidence. I looked at the evidence for transformation in the mirror every single morning. And I know how powerful journaling is. I know how powerful affirmation. The book is just a product of that, but the real product is looking at you in the Zoom lens, right? Because it's all about becoming.
I love the fact. So now you have this book, and this is a way, this is just a beautiful way to promote and talk about the journey. So now my question is, whoever buys the book, how can they use the affirmations that you used and incorporate that into their lives, and how can they use the book? So what is the best way to make the best possible use of the book?
Well, you know what I found? Munira, I found that there is no best way. I've been getting feedback. It's like, oh, I use your book for this. Oh, I use your book for this. So most of the book buyers use it for their to start their day. And I always recommend speak the words out loud. In other words, they want to get themselves, their mind on track. A good amount of them use them as journaling prompts. So they'll take the I am statement, they'll read the paragraph, and then they themselves will authentically journal. I'm getting ready to do a journaling workshop at my church in June, because most people don't know how to journal.
Right.
They
Right.
think
Right.
it's something that it's not, right. And I didn't. And then here's a use I never saw coming. I had a mom tell me, well, you know, Michelle, I read your affirmations to my children. I speak life over my children through these affirmations every day. And during the day, I reinforce that particular affirmation. So if it's, let's say, day 28, I am knowledgeable. Whenever this mom sees her children living out the affirmation, she says, oh, look, you are knowledgeable, and she says, now say it. I'm knowledgeable. And so she's speaking life into her children in a positive way, because, there's a lot of death in people's words,
Right.
and a lot of negativity, a lot of toxicity that's just rampant. So we need to speak light. We need to speak sunlight into people's hearts. And so that was one I saw that I didn't expect. Another one, I have a coach who buys a copy for her clients, and especially clients who are struggling with their self-identity or their self-worth, their self-belief. And she said, here is a resource for you to use. Let's talk about the ones that resonate with you on our next coaching meeting. I did not see that coming. So
Right.
I think the need for positive affirmations and journaling, maybe not the journaling, not everybody's a writer, right? But everybody can speak into a phone, or everybody can speak life into other people.
Right.
And so that's how most use it, for journaling or just reading out loud to themselves in the morning as a devotional type of thing, a start. And some I use it with their children, some use it with their coaching clients.
I love it. So, the thing is, sometimes I've seen other people, like, I want to write a book and I want to write something similar, but most times it's like you have something, just go with it and then figure out along the way. Because, like you said, it's a process. And I'm sure that you just didn't write 365 affirmations and call it good. You wrote a lot more, and then you picked and choose the best ones to put in your book.
Yeah.
Maybe, is there a sequel coming? Maybe.
Well, I am in the middle of marketing this one, but you know what? I have this idea. I'm going to try to publish this year a journal to go with the book, and it'll be a blank journal. So it'll have the affirmations, maybe a scripture meditation, and then some space to journal, because some people need just prompts,
Right.
just need a little
Right.
kickstart.
Right.
And that's this year's, and maybe onto the first part of next year. But I have in mind another idea where, wouldn't it be amazing to take just positive words and things like optimism or praiseworthy, some just really positive words, and use those as the words and then journal on that. So in my private journaling, that's what I've started to do. I pick a word, I get a publication called The Daily Word. So I don't always have to do the digging myself. And I take their word and I will try to find a companion verse to it, because I think people's core faith is really important to their self-identity. And but we're all spiritual beings. We're not, we all have that need for spirit. And I find a verse that goes with that, and then I write on that. So I'm actually repeating the process again.
And that is such a wonderful idea. So, take a word and how does that affect you for your day, right?
Yeah.
Because you look at different words and that word could mean something else for somebody else and it could mean something else to you.
Yeah.
So that I like that. But thank you so much for sharing. So I love the fact that you've shared the next steps, but tell us how do we find you, Michelle?
Okay. Well, I have now currently my social media, I'm going very cautiously I'm on LinkedIn under Michelle Caprio, Caprio. And I also have a personal page, and I have a business page, Wings of Eagles Educational Services, which is the kind of the business covering for everything, pretty much. I have not ventured into TikTok or Instagram at the present time. TikTok seems to be a little volatile at this time, so I'm just kind of waiting for that. And so I'm trying to work with the two tools that I feel are most effective and have the largest audience. But I also have a website, wingsofeaglesed.com, and I can share those with you you can share that with your readers as well if you like. So, but you can look for Wings of Eagles Educational Services.com. The book is on Amazon, and I will share that link with you as well.
I appreciate you. Thank you, everybody. This has been such a wonderful, unique story for our guest, Michelle Caprio. It's a wrap for Munira's Musings. I hope you found an inspiration and valuable insights from our today's conversation. So sometimes what we learned is the pain can become a positiveness in your life, and you can create. Like Michelle, I too wrote a book during the pain I was going through. But if you want to hear more, send me a message. But if you enjoyed this episode, be sure to like, share, and subscribe to wherever you are so you never miss an update. We are wherever you can find a podcast. And if this resonated with you, leave a review, share it with somebody who can benefit from it, or send us a question. Thank you for tuning in. And until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, keep making an impact. See you in the next week with a new guest. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.